got 5 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order today, Monday, June 2nd, 2025. Roll call, we have Selectman Eric Eaton, Mackenzie Jewett, Kevin Buck, myself, Jamie Thurlow, Town Clerk Sarah Abbott, and Town Manager Jesse Dunbar. And Howdy has called out sick tonight.
Make a motion to excuse Howdy Goodman from tonight's meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to excuse Howdy from tonight's meeting. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Adoption of agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to change on the agenda? All right, approval of minutes. We have the minutes from May 19th, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of Monday, May 19th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from Monday, May 19th, 2025. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I abstain, I was absent.
All right, approval of warrants. We have warrant 124 for $15,318.02, 125 for $13,816.12, 126 for $15,349.08, warrant 127 for $5,536.06, and warrant 128 for $133,768.50.
I make a motion to approve warrants 124 through 128.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve warrants 124 through 128. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
I abstain, my business is on 125.
Okay. Do
You want to pull that one?
Do you want to pull that one, or just have 3 of us is fine? Okay. All right, now we're on to regular business. First thing we have is deer hunting. We discussed it a little bit at our last meeting and then tabled it until Eric and Howdy could be back, and at least we've got one of you. We don't know Howdy, but at least we got Eric.
Oh, he wasn't here last time either.
No, so we just chatted more about what we'd heard from community and basically input that we've heard and ideas, and stopped at that again. So,
Ballistically, there's no safe option. An arrow hits a deer, it's gonna run 20 yards minimum. That's running on somebody else's property around here. Number 2, you can't use a rifle. Rifle's gonna go. But even further than that, if you take a bad shot with a bow, which expanded archery was talked about, which therefore you gotta bring in crossbows, which you gotta bring in the Raven crossbow that shoots 200 yards, no problem, to kill a deer. An arrow deflects worse than a rifle ever thought of deflecting. And I do not care what your defense is, shoot both. Then step out 500 yards with a rifle and shoot at 20 yards with a bow, and we'll have the same conversation, because then it's about equal. There's no 500-yard shot. There's no safe place to shoot around here. There's nothing. Not only that, who wants Down East boys coming up here? Because we all know what they've turned Machias Board into. We know what Machias is. Who wants those guys up here shooting by your house with kids running around? Ballistically, you guys need to do a little more science. Not only that, if the deer were overpopulated, where is nature's die-off? There ain't one. We might have a lot of deer, but there's no overpopulation. Ticks would have done that already if we were overpopulated. But that brings up another point. Why are deer not dying for ticks? Maybe instead of using them to try to kill off and throw on a dump pile like they did back when there was a problem in the day, why don't we start testing a few of them and find out the natural immunity they have? Because I don't know about you guys, but it'd be nice if my dog didn't get Lyme disease all the time. I mean, there's a lot better options, and you guys are saying they're overpopulated, but there's no natural die-off. They're not overpopulated, or there'd be a natural die-off. Not only that, stop putting all these yurts up. Stop letting people build all these places to rent out. You keep cutting the woods down around here, you're gonna see more deer. Where are they supposed to go? Side of Western Mountain, they can't do that no more because it's so overpopulated, the people push them off it. I mean, you guys are looking way past the simple point of call. If there's a problem, get a depredation permit. Wardens are pretty easy to work with nowadays around here. There's way easier solutions than even having this keep coming up every 5 years. Just get a depredation permit. All you gotta do is say, call them, they'll come down, check your property. If you have proof it's being destroyed, they'll give you a depredation permit. They won't hesitate. So I guess that's what I gotta say, but I don't see any safe option at all. Maybe landowner and lead buckshot, because once lead hits something, it smushes, it doesn't travel any further. But it'd have to be out of a shotgun to go slow enough to get that effect.
We had Inland Game here at our meeting before last, and they didn't seem too interested in just a residence hunt of any sort, so.
So then the depredation permit, people taking it on their own power, instead of crying about it, and go and get it done, call, they've got destruction of property, the deer are a problem at their property, call. They'll hand you tags. They know that there's a problem down here. They know it's not overpopulated, and I have not heard one warden say it's overpopulated. I have heard them say they're a problem,
Yeah.
but not overpopulated.
Yeah, what I've heard from people, what I was said at the last meeting, Eric, was what I had heard from just people out and about, that they think the only safe way to do it, like we said before, was just to have a group go around and call whatever, that needs to be, whatever the town feels like needs to be done, and then make sure, obviously, that everything gets butchered, it goes to food pantries.
Can't do that, it's illegal unless you have an actual person.
Yeah, well.
It has to be a legal butcher who wants to take out of their tax money to pay to go get deer cut up.
Yeah.
That's just another bonus. They're already paying enough.
Yeah. So, that's basically all we discussed last time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care either way, which way it goes. If the people in the town wanna say they think there is an issue or there isn't an issue, then vote on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you do, is you just put it to a vote and then just people vote on it.
This all came up is
Yep.
because someone else brought this up, a representative, to try to overpower the towns and
Yep.
open up wide open rifle season,
Yeah.
and we
Yeah.
don't want that.
We
That's
didn't
just-
bring this up ourselves. This was brought, hang on a second, this was thrown on our plate. This is nothing we went for after. The state representative, not our state representative, but one of a different area, one in Western Maine, tried to get this passed, and we kind of were on the tail end of it by the time we heard about it. So, yeah, we've basically, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, but I think they're looking for us to do something at this point. They would like us to make some sort of a move so that it doesn't get pushed on us more. So if we make some sort of a move forward, yeah, just one more time for a second.
Well, if they did that, has any of you guys in the town, selectman, manager, or any of that applied and tried to get a depredation permit?
No, I haven't. We haven't.
Because if you hadn't, I feel like maybe that would be the first step I would take as the town to see if, A, yourself could acquire a depredation permit for
Yeah.
your own property, just to prove to people that it is
Yeah.
way easier than what people are thinking to take care
Yeah.
of the destruction they're causing.
Basically, our job at this point is just to come up with some sort of a solution, so that we're showing that we're doing something, and put it to voters and let them vote on it. And then if people want it, then they want it. If they don't, they can turn it down. But at least that we're trying,
Right.
we're doing something.
And if you guys hired a group, you'd have to look into the background of
Oh, yeah.
hunting violations ahead of time,
Yep, I'm sure there's a lot to
which
it.
would cause a whole new problem.
Yeah. Yes, Andy.
Is it correct that Billy Bob Falkingham from Franklin withdrew his bill at the legislature?
No.
No, he didn't.
No,
Okay.
actually,
Down, right?
one of the other sponsors of the bill was from Western Maine, and I will give him a pat on the back, he Zoomed us at that meeting, and he was kinda, maybe left in the dark about why it hit his plate a little bit, and, he was, very helpful, paid great attention, and I think he was the one that said, after going to this meeting, and that he said the towns need to handle this on their own, so,
Yeah, the bill died in committee.
yep,
The-
yep.
We have no idea how much a hired hunt would cost, like, we don't even really have our heads wrapped around a hired
No,
hunt, do
so
we?
at your
Is that
last
really-
meeting, you were talking about, the town selecting specific hunters, and you had the conversation of, like, the example from Old Town was a hunting group,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but we don't have a hunting group, so you had asked about, well, can
Yep.
the select board
Yep,
choose
that's right.
5 residents or 5 people that they want to allow hunting?
Mhm.
That was an update in your memo that the state biologist said, yes, they have a broad authority to conduct special hunts and structure them however is needed. Yes, the town can limit the special hunt to only selected hunters. If your select board meetings are being reasonably well attended, I put out feelers there for interested hunters. Local game wardens may be able to suggest people as well.
Mhm.
So you can, if you put it to the town vote and the vote says yes, you can propose to the state that you're going to allow these 5 people to go hunt deer.
Mhm.
They would potentially allow that. He did say, where we brought up the, needing to donate the deer, beyond the 3rd, he said we wouldn't necessarily need to require that hunters donate deer beyond the 3rd, but I'd be surprised if many people wanted to keep or have room for more than that. He said he wouldn't worry about having a set number, removed. He'd recommend the goal being proof that deer removal can safely be conducted in the town.
Mhm.
With that, and the intent of turning that proof of concept into allowing hunting generally in the town, even if by archery only at some point. The goal should be to maintain deer removal long-term. A short-term special hunt with no long-term follow-up just results in some agitation when issues return.
Going back to something that Toad brought up though, I mean, I can only speak for
I'll get
myself,
you guys.
but I think none of us are in favor of bow or guns or whatever in residential neighborhoods. Nobody's gonna be running down Bernard Road with a crossbow. You would have to have permission from the landowner or your own property. So that we've definitely considered, and that's definitely not something that's on my plate.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we had at the meeting before last there, that they explained to us what they did up in, I wish Davidson, did you
Mhm.
contact him with any more information? I saw him the other day and I forgot to, cause
I
they did something up in Orono, and they, it was really well done. And basically, if you gave them permission to hunt on your land, then they would come in and they would do it, and you wouldn't even know they were there. If you didn't, then they didn't touch it. They went to their own, to someone else. So, it was a very open system, and it seemed like it worked well for what they did, and it was, I think that's the safest way if we're gonna do anything to do it. But yeah, Tammy had something behind you first, that
Go for it.
I just got a question on how the park's weighing in on this. Because I know in years before, or probably all of our times,
Yeah.
the park had hunters come in and they did it on parkland. And then they donated it to needy families in the towns.
Yeah.
Is that something that we can look into?
Certainly.
You can ask, yeah.
Try,
They haven't
yeah.
responded to
Oh, they haven't.
anything as of yet. In the past, they generally are very negative and tight-lipped about
Yeah.
deer removal, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea just to reach out to them and see what their input is, but I have a feeling their input's probably not gonna be, very, last time I heard, they were not really excited about any sort of a deer hunt, so, dope.
So, for one, how are we gonna be promised that they don't do like the last time you guys hired hunters to clean up? The last two hired hunts, I know of, there were more deer left dead on side the fucking road, on side the road than there was picked up. That's Swan's Island depredation hunt, and that was back when the park tried to schedule it for NDI a long time ago. They were throwing them on Southwestern Down. So, how are we gonna know that ain't gonna happen again? Because we know that the only way it's gonna get done is by a legal butcher, and even if people are trying to cut it up on their own, if they really wanted to get fussy about it and you were distributing the meat, they can still fine you for that. And, I mean, that's a lot of money coming out of the town's pocket.
Yeah, I think
Why not
Swan's
just leave them
Island,
be? They dropped it in the big spot, just drop it here.
I think Toad, Swan's Island didn't have a hired hunter or a group. It was a local, you had to be a resident, and that's,
And what do we?
yeah, but it was all the residents. That's
Right,
a
but
lot
still
different.
the same, if you do it around here, and the hired hunt they had around here, when they couldn't do any more, they just kept shooting them. But you're gonna go after bucks with great big antlers, and the only way you're gonna touch population is kill the does.
I didn't know that there was ever a hired
Yeah,
hunter around here.
hunt here?
We
I've
didn't
never
find
heard of
it.
it.
Was it?
Yeah, look into it
Yeah, 'cause the state, we
before
had,
you go hiring hunters.
yeah, we asked the state and they didn't have any record of, remember, when we did the
Yeah.
last time, they
Yeah.
couldn't come up with anything.
You might wanna dig deeper because
Yeah.
it was done,
Yeah.
and it was a disgrace to animals, the whole 9 yards. If you're gonna shoot them, use them.
Yeah, I think this is a lot different than Swan's Island, cause I know I went down on Swan's Island there at one point, and they had it open for, residents only, and that seemed to be somewhat controlled, and that wasn't too bad, but then
How
when
many
they
deer were on
opened-
side the road down there left?
Yeah, well, that was, hang on, Toad, and then when they opened it up to everyone, then it was a field day. That's when it was a problem. When it was just residents, it was fine. But when it went to open to everybody, that was a mess. And that's why I would never have it open to everybody like
Yeah,
that.
nobody wants to see a bunch of deer shot and left on the side of the road.
No.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's not even the option. That's only
And I
one.
feel
That's
like-
one of
Hang
the
on, Toad. You gotta wait
options
for everybody else
that
to
haven't
talk. You gotta wait.
is not hasn't even gone to the public yet to
Yeah.
come weigh in and have
Yeah,
a public hearing about it. It's just one of the options, and not saying that that's the best option. I don't like that option at all for the same reasons I don't want to see meat go to waste
yeah,
and not be treated properly, because even people doing it on their own, if they're trying to process, I know how long it takes to process a deer. I've done multiple of them, and you're not going to go and just process deer every day. Like, there will be waste if there's, 3 people trying to shoot 100 deer. Like, that's just not, it's not a good way to go about it, I don't think.
I wanna make sure you know the timeline of this too, Toad. Don't think, there's nothing, that is being voted on now. All we're doing is we're trying to make up a plan
I feel
to,
like when the bill comes up, just put doe only. Watch how many people vote on that.
yeah,
You wanna take population out, put it doe only.
Well, that's why it's expanded archery is one of the options, is
Why?
because you can buy as many doe tags as you want. So
but,
that's why they didn't really like the rifle only, because then it's just bucks, right? So, or a lottery for a doe tag. So if you're gonna change the population, you need to go after the females as,
yeah. But once again, the timeline, back to this. We need to come up with a plan. That's our job, is to have a plan, and then we have public hearings, so it has to go through public hearings before, and then we hear input from people. Then we make modifications. This isn't a public hearing, so we don't we're just trying to come up with the best plan that we think we can. Then you get all the input from the residents, and then we go back and try to modify, however, accordingly, and then it goes on to vote. So it's a long process. This is just like a step in the way of the process, that's all. Yeah, do you guys have any other options that are even on the table besides getting a group, or do you think that's the only option if we did anything?
Thought we had like 4 options here.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, at the last meeting, we were going down through them, trying to like eliminate certain ones that were brought forward, and just, I can't see is there's any safe way to open up. Oh, you missed that, Jesse. So what I was in fear of is exactly what Jesse found out. The state said if we open it up to bow hunting, there's no hitting the stop button.
Yeah.
When it's
It's
open,
up to
it's
the
open.
state then to
Yeah,
close
it-
it.
It's an act of Congress, and I think that's just,
I don't like
in my
that.
opinion, that's out of the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it as unless we set it up with a definite end date.
Yeah.
Yes,
When we
if you
do.
said
Right.
mandate,
Yeah.
Right.
yes.
Just to see if it,
So if you said 12 months,
right.
Yeah.
you can
You can renew that.
apply to
Yeah.
say that you'd like to extend it.
See, that's not a terrible idea.
If it doesn't specify, then yes, it would take legislation to.
Yeah,
stop it.
personally, anything we do, I don't wanna go over 12 months.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like
for
a
sure,
trial,
yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just think that we need to do baby steps. I don't think that that's gonna be safe, and that's just my own opinion. I know that's why there's 5 of us, not 1. But I just don't think that that's a safe option. I think that the only way you're ever gonna be able to do anything safely, let alone worrying about how many deer, is gonna be to have just a small group go around and then more or less prove to people that this can be done quietly and safely, versus, it's either that or nothing, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, just go
Yeah.
with the nuisance permit, like Toad said.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how many calls on the police department are for deer collisions? Like 90% of them.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
It is all.
I mean,
New Year's Eve, I got 6 calls, 6 deer.
yeah. I mean, there's,
Yeah.
I can't see anybody disagreeing with the large amount of deer that are around.
I think
Larger
it's too many
than.
people.
Huh?
You want the truth, I mean, when you're cutting down their home, there's too many people. You're gonna see them.
Yo, absolutely. I hear you.
Yeah, so,
So basically, what you're getting input for in creating the plan, you're gonna have to come up with a plan, if you want, that would be submitted to voters. And then if the voters said yes, it would then go to the committee at Inland Fisheries for approval. So the plan would need to have, which one of these is it?
mhm.
Who is it? If you're doing the limited license, so who are the 5 people? You have to tell the state who they are, you have to pick them. And you have to say, outline the rules in the, plan, such as doe only, how long it's going to last. All that has to be part of the plan to get state approval for a
Yeah.
special hunt.
Yeah, I think we need to, us as a board, need to come up with one plan. Cause I don't think bringing 5 options to the public is a good idea, or 3, or 2 even, because I think it's hard, it's gonna be a hard thing for everybody, so, I think that we need to focus on bringing 1 option, and then bring it to a public hearing, and then wait for some of the input maybe before we, finalize like doe only,
Mhm.
stuff like that, like,
Yep.
hear some feedback and then modify it, but I think we just need to all get together on one thing and then bring that to a public hearing.
Do you have an idea, Sarah, how many hunting licenses are sold, in town? I mean, how many residents are hunters?
There wasn't many. I mean, in the office, I think it was only like 23 or 25 last year.
That came here though.
That
they
came
didn't.
here.
Sure,
Everyone
you can
does
get
it
your
all.
license
Yeah.
Online,
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I get, I think most
But-
people do them online.
Yeah, I just was curious what the number of residents, if we did a resident only.
But
I
didn't
mean-
you say there were like 6 archery licenses last year? So
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
not a lot of,
Yeah,
but again, doesn't mean you
It's-
couldn't go someplace else and get it, so,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just here.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of the outer islands have, more than enough people. So there's plenty of hunters in this area that are
Well,
from
that's
this
what I
town, so,
figured,
yeah,
yeah, I just was curious what the number was.
yeah.
I mean, a residence only, at least for a trial, seems like a pretty good solution. And I mean, yeah, you know, even with shotguns, but, you know, again, that's just my thought on it, but I do think it should be someone that's pretty familiar with the area that's hunting around here.
Sure.
I mean, opening the whole town up for, you know, anyone with a hunting license, I am totally against that.
Absolutely, that's what yeah.
So to clarify, one option was listed in your memo as resident only, would mean any resident of the town of Tremont
Mhm.
can hunt them.
That's
Or
what
the
Kevin-
limited license is you choose
So-
5 residents or not.
I think that's a lot.
Is 5 the number, or is?
No, you just
Yeah,
said 5
okay.
to 6.
Yeah, okay.
I just wanted to clarify.
And then
Yeah.
who's in
Yeah.
charge of the background checks and all of the chasing, or you?
Yeah.
You need more things to do.
My
What if
vote-
you're a landowner though, like if,
Yeah.
like somebody from Northeast Harbor owns 25 acres over here and wants to participate on their own property? They're not a resident of Tremont, but they pay taxes.
I think you're opening up a can of worms though, because then, I've got Sean over here who's, you know, owns a piece of land beside me and he's shooting a deer and he
But
lives in
has
Bar
to-
Harbor
yeah,
and then
but
you've got.
he has to stay away from your property lines, he still has to
Yeah.
follow the, whatever the hunting rules are, I'm a big hunter, so.
Yeah, we can tell you're a big hunter, McKenzie, yeah.
So, I know a lot about this subject.
Alright, so,
Just one real quick thing.
yep,
There is one law in Maine and through the United States, if I shot a deer where I had legal permission on that property and it jumps a boundary line, that person has every legal right to not let you touch that deer.
yeah,
So that has to be something, especially where neighboring properties butt
yep.
in.
Yep. No, I think the only way, my vote is 100% just a small group, because I'm nervous about how you're gonna get a residence only, and how you're gonna prove that they're a resident, and how, you know, not just a landowner, but a resident, so if
Well,
you're.
that's not hard to prove. I
If
mean,
you
she-
rent, but I'm trying to think of how to word this properly. If you rent an apartment in town, you have no place safely to shoot. But you have a right to hunt versus someone who, like you said, is a landowner who owns 30 acres, who is not a resident.
But that person still has to get permission from the landowner to hunt, right?
They're supposed to.
Right,
That's,
right, yeah.
there's a lot of
Right.
things that are supposed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
be
yeah,
done,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where you lose me, cause I know that I've gone hunting enough there's a lot of things that are supposed to be done.
Sure.
But that's not our job. That's
Yeah,
The
but
game
I
warden's
just
job.
don't wanna see someone get shot on my watch.
I hear ya.
Yeah, and that's what I don't want. You go out back of someone's house and without permission and they miss, and I don't want that to be on my watch, that's all. But, okay, Kevin says residents.
Well, no, I mean, and
Yeah.
again, someone that knows the area, I don't
Yeah.
have, it definitely should be limited,
Yeah.
who can hunt the town. And whatever that works out to be, I'm good with, but I think it should be very limited.
Mackenzie?
I think I'm with Kevin.
Just
Resident.
residents.
Resident, yeah.
Yeah.
All residents, just to
Quick
be
thing,
clear.
why can't you open up to different villages on the island? Like do Bass Harbor X amount of days, Seal Cove X amount of days, Bernard X amount of days?
Yeah.
Do it that way.
Yep, we could, and that's, I mean, we're very, very initial stages here, so we're just trying to get a rough idea and then get public input after that.
So what the state said essentially is if you want to do a special plan, it's much more difficult
Yeah.
than a standard season that is already being used around us.
Yeah.
Because they already have all the guidelines and everything to just press the go button on a standard season. If it, just for instance, if it was expanded archery or shotgun only or whatever the hell it was. So, that's just the two, white and black. So it's either if the town says yes, then it's an easy pass with the state, or when we go into the special hunt, we have to rewrite the whole works and submit it and get it approved, which is fine. But that's just the process.
I don't know if the separate village thing would work, cause I don't think you can find 4 people in town that agree where the lines are in the villages.
Yeah, that's fair.
That too, yeah.
Eric, what's yours?
I just think we should have a public hearing, and I mean, I'm not stuck on one of them. It's hard for me to say this is the only option for you guys to talk about. I just want to see what the people in the town have to say.
Yeah.
Well, again, maybe the thing to do is eliminate a couple of them like we already
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, what
You
are we
know,
doing
it's
with
like,
it?
Yeah. Yeah, if you get it down to 2, I'm afraid, we're trying to be productive with it, and I think that part of it might go out the window when we're trying to focus on how we could safely do something, to even have it as an option to be voted on versus we're trying to do this right now, and, I just,
Yeah, I just
too many options makes it difficult sometimes.
Right, but only one option is not really fair to put on the table
Yeah.
for people to discuss.
That's your job though, Eric.
I guess.
Yeah.
To give them more than one option. Yes, exactly. I mean,
Okay, so if we pick 2 options, what are your 2 options to bring them?
it would, expanded is the most practical, I think, just because of the doe tags. That's the main reason. And then a limited license group, or I think we're all talking about the same thing. If it's a hired or just a group of people from around
Eliminate-
town.
are we pretty much all on eliminating firearms?
Yeah.
Or do you wanna consider shotguns?
That's not even on here, is it?
No.
Yeah.
No. There's either hired hunt, limited license group, residents only, or expanded archery. Those are the 4 things that are on here. So if we have to at least vote on, someone make a motion for one, and and then we'll get one on the table, and then we do one other, and then that.
Okay, I guess if we, for example, residents only, is that with firearms or without? That's kind of where I'm,
With firearms? I
Yeah.
thought we weren't talking about firearms altogether.
If you do a limited license, it's up to you. You can say limited license archery, or you can say limited license.
Okay.
period.
Oh.
It's up to you.
Yeah,
There's too many
that's-
parts to
that's-
this, yeah.
Yeah.
So, residents only would be the first part, that would open the discussion to residents only, is how I'm envisioning this. So then you go into a public hearing and you say, okay, so we're thinking about a residents only hunt. And then people would say, well, we don't think there should be shotgun or rifle, or we don't think there should be bow. And then that stuff, like you fine tune it, and then, maybe have another public hearing, okay, this is what we've come up with, after this, and then it would go to vote. So, it would be, I think it's so broad at this point of just details aren't in the part yet.
And expanded archery would be non-residents also, that's what that means?
That'd be open state, like according to the state wide.
State, okay.
Yeah.
oh, you want me to make a motion?
Yep, start with 1.
Okay, well, how about if I suggest, I move to, have a public hearing discussing the options of a deer hunt that is residents only or to a restricted group of participants.
Limited license group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
limited license group,
So you just pick
whatever.
two?
Well, I figured we could discuss those two options.
Seems like it's kinda combined anyways,
Yeah,
is what
Yeah,
we're
okay.
trying
that's
to.
kinda that's what I was looking at.
Okay.
I don't know if that motion made sense.
Okay, yep, but that's
Okay.
the only two then that we'd be
Yeah,
putting forward,
yeah.
just
So we're not talking about any of the other things?
Well, I'm
Those are our
just,
two choices?
that's his motion,
Yeah.
that's all I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think expanded archery should be a discussion.
I think it should be a discussion too.
Okay, and included in that motion would be, in that public hearing would be the option of expanded archery. Or an expanded archery season.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to have a public hearing and to discuss options for deer hunting to include limited license group, residents only, and expanded archery. And is there any discussion? I'm just gonna tell you right now, I'm voting against it, cause I don't think that having everybody come in, is gonna be even remotely close to safe, so.
Okay, so
Just-
So you're voting against putting it to a public hearing, is that what you mean?
Yeah, I don't even think we should entertain, that's just my own 2 cents, that's all. You guys, I'm just telling you why.
Yeah.
Giving you an explanation as to why, that's all. Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, so we're going to a public hearing to talk about, limited license group, residents only, expanded archery. Okay, done. One topic done.
With you.
Do you have a specific time you would like to schedule the public hearing, or just?
I mean, that's so broad that there's not really much more research we can do. I mean, it's gonna be so random of input that, it can be any time. Like, I
Okay.
don't think it can be sooner than later, and just
Okay.
let everybody chime in and
Before
then,
we have a public hearing though, can we sort of figure out what limited license group actually means? Cause if you say that to a group of people, they're gonna be like, "Wait, what? What does that mean?"
it means we
Yeah.
select
Yeah.
X amount
We
of
do.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the town selects.
And how do we
Jesse
do
was
that?
using 5, but, I mean, that's how we'd have to figure it out, is
And then
there.
Jesse's responsible for background checks and all of the,
Yeah,
yeah,
he would have to be in, or someone would, the town
Yeah.
office would have to be in charge of a background check before,
Well,
yeah,
If it was residents, or the limited group, it might not be as tough.
yeah.
I mean, that's, ideally, that's kinda what I'd like to see, I think.
Do you have to
You
do a
know.
background check if they have a valid hunting license? They've already jumped through all the hoops to get it, right? So would you have to do that?
There's no background
No?
check for a hunting license.
No, but you
Um,
have to swear to,
As long as we're not hiring them,
Okay.
we're, just to be, just so everybody's clear, if we're not hiring them to do it, then, yeah.
okay, I'm just trying to understand
So
how
the
much
list,
work that is.
just to, yeah, I know, this just goes around in
Yeah.
circles. So Kevin, I think you're saying the same thing I am. The limited licensing group is not for anybody in the state. to
No,
come.
no,
Yeah, okay,
no.
this would be a residents only,
Yeah,
we select
yeah.
them,
Okay.
okay, or
Yeah.
so, or the town does, or
Yeah.
whoever, someone does.
I think you'll would get feedback from the public hearing that people either are fine with every resident in town being allowed to go hunt,
Yeah.
or no, we like, 5 to 10, or whatever the number is,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
of residents to
Okay.
be allowed to hunt. I would guess that would come out during the public
Yeah.
hearing, but.
okay,
Maybe.
sounds good. Next, land acquisition, titled Public Safety Building. You wanna start with this, Jesse, or how do you wanna do it? We also have Alan, kind of Alan's here, he could summarize what the committee has been doing and,
Yep.
how, yeah,
I
what they've
can,
come up
if
with.
you want me to just give a quick overview to
Yep.
start, and then, we can have him chime in. So, in my memo, it says, for several years, the town's been saving money aside in a reserve for a new public safety building. to house fire, EMS, possibly law enforcement space. In 2023, the select board created the Public Safety Building Committee to assist with the planning of this facility. Since then, the committee's met regularly, has put a lot of effort and work into this process. And the committee was narrowing it in on a suitable site, being the ice rink lot, what we refer to as the ice rink lot, next door to the town office. For that site, the town would need to construct a new building. The committee had come up with a very preliminary wish list design. They haven't gone further with that yet. The report the committee members were preparing to present to the board is in your packet. And that work describes the ice rink lot as being the best option. Since the committee met to finalize the report, a new option presented itself to the select board. Then they had you had discussions in executive session regarding acquisition of the land for a nearby parcel, and Jamie, as member of the Public Safety Building Committee, met twice with that committee in an executive session there to go over this new option that had come forward. The committee members seemed very excited about pursuing the new option, as did the select board when talked about, pending due diligence, inspections, and title and town meeting approval. So to date, both this board and the committee seem very excited about looking into this new option as a good fit, pending all of those things. The property is located at 31 and 37 Harbor Drive, just up the street from the town office. It includes a large commercial garage, 2-bedroom, 2-bath house. There'll need to be modifications to the garage, and pending further investigation, they don't appear to be significant enough not to pursue acquisition of the property as the best option. At the moment, the board has expressed they feel the acquisition and remodeling costs would be below the costs of constructing a new facility adjacent to the town office. I think that summarizes most of it. Elaborate or have Alan speak on behalf of the committee.
Yeah. Is there anything you wanna add to that, Alan?
Yeah, I did talk to a couple of the committee members since I saw this announcement. And I did want to just reinforce that the contingency, since none of us have seen the building, contingency for due diligence is really paramount. I know that may interfere in some ways, but I think we have to have to do the work to make sure that this lot will not only satisfy our needs, but also will in fact be less expensive than the plan we were originally looking at. So that's the primary thing to say.
To reiterate, as far as the conditions, the purchase and sale would be subject to obtaining inspections as satisfactory to the select board and the town. The town would have, several months beyond the signing of the purchase to complete those inspections. And then closing would be well beyond that. Also in between there is getting town approval for purchasing it, as it would be something the town would borrow to make the purchase. So it would be a town meeting vote somewhere in between signing the contract and closing on the property. It's been, I know it may seem odd to some people that it is on the agenda, but municipal land acquisitions do require executive session discussion to get to a point where it becomes a public discussion. And though I'm sure people would like to have some answers before signing of purchase and sale, every real estate transaction, pretty much, you do those after signing of purchase and
just wanted to thank the Building Safety Committee for how much work that they put into it. I know there's been a ton of thought and a ton of work, that tons and tons of meetings, throwing around all kinds of good ideas. None of the ideas were bad. It was just, Dave, who I know can't be here, but he spent a ton of time researching grants. I mean, the ambulance service, everybody had, contributed a lot to the process so far, so I don't want that to be forgotten, that they put in a pile of work to get here.
And they'll still have input
Yes.
into this building, right? I mean, that committee doesn't go away, they still.
No,
I mean,
no.
if they want
Yep.
to, right, they'll still
But,
walk through
yeah,
and.
to date, they've put in a lot of time
Yeah.
and a lot of effort, a lot of volunteers to do it, so. Keith?
So, I wrote down something, I know I'm not eloquent, I won't say it always the nice way, but I don't think we're at the point to sign a contract and move forward on the property. I've been a member of the different committees and I've been part of it, but, I think, I feel this is an impulse purchase. I think it falls drastically short of my expectations, and I feel it's not anywhere comparable to what the committee was expecting. This should be a great achievement, something that our volunteers and community are proud of, something to instill trust in employees, but, I don't think we've done our part proving that this property trumps any other options that we have. I'm not saying, I mean, I can clearly point out deficiencies, that the building we proposed is 12,000 square feet. The building that we're purchasing is under 5,500 square feet. It's equal in property size, essentially. But, the current station that we have, 5,700 square feet. Again, the property the town's considering purchasing is under 50, the buildings and stuff are under 55, so it's significantly less than what we currently have. I did the math in the parking lot. So, 5,500 versus 5,900. So it's only $400 square feet less, but, my point is that we should move forward in a direction, baby steps, like Jamie said earlier, that we consult an engineer. Part of the bylaws of this committee was to present this in collaboration with an engineer, someone like we talked about, Ed Fine and Sewell. Right now, we're basing the purchase of this price compared to what we assume this new 12,000 square foot building will be. I'm just saying that, I appreciate the enthusiasm that the people think this is an immediate solution. I do think we're making a lot of assumptions that it's gonna be a better value, more suitable, without fully, I mean, like I said, I guess from what Jesse said, we can go ahead and make the purchase and sale, but I really think it's gonna fall short. If we could compare, I mean, think of a million reasons, right? $1 million for buying. If we would put $1 million on a piece of property the town already owns and it joins to this current property, I think we'd be a lot further ahead than buying a building that wasn't purposely built. And I'm losing my thought, but I don't know if you guys get my gist, but I think the building we've been at for 75 years. Our town has drastically changed in just the last 10 years. I think we need to build a building that's energy efficient, new. It's not just, fire stations used to be just a place you park this truck, but now it's more environmental safety. Taking shower before you go home, so you don't give everything you just got on to your family. Creating a safe work environment with no center post, no crunch zone, so no through traffic. So there's a lot of stuff that we haven't thought of as a committee without employing a professional agency. So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I don't know what else I can contribute, but I think we can do better. I do.
I would like to see numbers on what it would cost us to do what our original plan was, and then what it would cost after purchase to renovate to make that adequate if we were to use that spot. I mean, I hate to buy something, just like you said, without having the numbers in front of us. I mean, You don't buy a used car without knowing how much other used cars cost.
And I mean, I don't think, it might turn out to be the perfect solution. I just think if I can't be sold as fire chief or resident, I don't know how we can fully sell the community that this is the right choice. I mean, I'm not gonna go behind you and put out signs and stand at the corner, and I'm not, if you decide to go this way, I will support you. But I do plan to support you whichever way you go, but I think we should do more homework before we keep going. I'm not saying Jamie baby steps, but it does make point. I mean, this committee put a lot of time and effort. I mean, we don't even know that the building we designed, I mean, that's as far as we got. We don't know if this complies with the standards. We don't know if this, I mean, we figured on a safe, private, training facility and housing combined. I mean, new fire stations have to have stoves that shut off when you leave because you're at fire and your kitchen's on fire at the fire station because you left your turkey cooked. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things we have to think about, but I think, I mean, I could go over lists of the building you're thinking of purchasing where it's inadequate, but I think we all admit it's inadequate. It needs roll-up doors and it needs more room, it needs more space. But I would like to see real value on what we're buying or what we could have for the same amount of money that's brand new so that's all I really have to say.
I'm a little lost on I've been on the committee the whole way up until a week ago, and I've never heard a 12,000 square foot building thrown in front of us once.
That's it, that's in the plan.
Well,
package right there.
Jim didn't have very good measurements on it, or there was
Well-
it was just a sketch.
Okay, yeah.
So 12,000 feet is by far nothing that we can ever afford to build in this town. If you go by the number that you gave us as to a rough idea how much it is per square foot, how much would that be? You remember the number that you brought us that Orland used for 12,000? I think it'd be, what, 6 million, 7 million?
The engineer, that the town uses said a base price was 400 a square foot.
Yeah, 400.
So that'd be 4.8 million.
So that's 4.8 million for
But,
that,
I
yeah.
mean-
No, and then, so, there's that, and then I've been under the impression the whole time that we were looking at like a 50 by 100 and change building. There's,
Well, right now we're at 70 by 60. So, I mean, that would be adding 15% to the building.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
But, and that doesn't include for a housing element either, but.
yeah,
The fire station itself is 6,800.
yeah.
But like I said,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
we're
coming to me.
making assumptions. It'd be nice to have hard facts, you know?
Yeah, and like Jesse said in this, I think this is how the process has to go when you enter a purchase and sale, is that you're contingent on our engineer giving us a report that we're satisfied with. And that's, until they do that, then, we don't have to commit to anything.
Right, if you want, I can clarify, part of what the town would be asking the engineer to find out is what does the building need to properly be a fire station?
Yeah.
Is there something hidden that we don't know about? There would be a facilities inspection of the water, the sewer, and how that relates to a public safety building. We'd go through the building code of what's required for a municipal fire station on an existing building, converting to that. So there would be a lot more, basically whatever the town wants to inspect, and be satisfied with. Part of that is, what are these estimated costs to convert it to a usable, to your point, you would know before closing on the property that it's gonna take X amount of dollars to bring it to what is needed. So you would know before closing that, that's,
And
bring
clearly,
that
we're not
down
going
to
into this
that.
stupid. We know that that's gonna happen. I mean, some people don't seem to think that we're following the correct process in this process, but we are.
I guess just speaking for me, my confusion is, to Keith's comment just now about that it's completely opposite of what the committee wants or was preparing. The committee at their last meeting wants to go with this option and explore it, so nobody, twisted their arm to say that.
And the committee has
Yeah.
firefighters on it, or representatives from the fire department.
Two.
Yeah,
Right,
two
okay.
fire-
So
yeah.
I
So
like,
this
I was
is
in
not
that
a
meeting,
surprise.
I like to elaborate, it was told that, it was described that we didn't have any measurements, we didn't have any size, we didn't have anything to compare to, and it's also so.
No, that's not true, because I did have the measurements. I
Okay, well,
sat there and
we had-
listed
we
off
had
all the
some.
measurements.
But it
Yeah.
was also sold as a sweet deal, there was no indication of what the price was. I don't know that the committee, any of the committee members knew what the value of the price was.
Right.
I was asked to keep it quiet, everybody else.
Well, that's not something we can make public till now.
I know, but when you're comparing, this is a sweet deal to, well, geez, $1 million could be, I mean, I don't know, I think we should follow our original plan of not impulsifying, not entering into a plan or signing an agreement, and send out an RFP, request for proposal, which I've sent to Jesse, an idea that, where we would have an engineer come in, evaluate our team, our town's needs, compare it, and see if they may decide that this is more than we need, and then compare the cost. I mean, we were talking 2030 for the station. We can stay right where we're at for 5 years. We can do our homework, and if it's still the best option, then we move forward, but I don't think, I don't know, it falls short of my expectations, certainly, 100%, 1,000,000%. But, I understand the committee is anxious, they wanna solve a solution for housing for the ambulance service, which the ambulance service committee hasn't fully decided which direction it's gonna go in. I hope they continue the same model they have now, but, and I more than anybody, 100% supportive of the ambulance service. But I just think we're not at the point where we're ready to start buying buildings. We were not at the point to start building a building, so I think we still need to do a lot more homework before we move forward.
I think that we all know your opinion up here, Keith, and I think we recognize that, and I don't think that you understand that we recognize that. But we have a job as a board, as you know, like when we deal with the school, we have to cut money to make it affordable in town. So by you saying this is falling short, I mean, you want the Taj Mahal, and we're saying we don't feel we can afford that. So we're trying to rein it back, and that's why there are boards and committees, and that's why there's no one person in town making decisions.
Right.
It's a group, they're boards, this goes through a train, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of thought. There was a building committee, there's a select board, and then it goes to town vote. So, we don't not understand where you're coming from. It's just that we might not agree with you, that's all, yeah. Someone behind you first, Alan, had told, I think, in the back there, sorry, she had it first, and then, yeah, sorry.
My question is you're looking at purchasing another property, I'm not sure where it is, but it's kind of like the church next to me that you wanted to put the school kids in before you did all your homework on it to find out there was a lot of stuff wrong with it. So if you're purchasing a building and they need to be able to cook or do showers or whatever, you need to know that the water and stuff is safe for them, for the fact that, you were gonna bottle water for our grammar school kids to drink and be able to use. So I think that you guys really should look into the property and everything that goes along with it and not be hasty on buying something that we don't know a lot about.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's a totally different circumstance. That was gifted to the town, and then we didn't ask for it. That's
But
a,
what I'm saying is, people were pushing, members of the board were pushing hard to put kids in there before they did all
to do
that.
something with it, yeah, and that's for sure. But where we're purchasing something, we'll have someone go in, look at it, assess all of these things, and make sure it meets the criteria that we feel is okay before it even
Yeah, 'cause we
goes to
don't need
voters.
another piece of property that goes to waste and sits there and does nothing.
Well, it's not even ours anymore, so it was.
That's good, I'm glad.
Yeah. Toad and an Allen.
So, my question to this is, as long as I've been alive, I can name 2 fires. One wasn't very long ago, and by the time the department got there, 3/4 of the building was gone. And the other one I put out with a 5-gallon bucket full of water. Why are we wasting money for another fire department? I understand the ambulance housing, let's buy an apartment building and put them up. But we don't need to be wasting money on fire department. because it's obvious they ain't doing their job.
Thanks, Lou.
Yeah. Alright,
Well,
move
Oh, you
on.
can come to the meetings on Wednesday nights.
Alan?
Sure, so, I mean, I think we all agree that we haven't done enough due diligence, and the question is.
I had no problem with that.
The question is, what is enough? And, we haven't seen what the engineer was asked to look at. I mean, we haven't, I don't know what their program is that they're gonna inspect. We have a lot of specifications that we developed, and so I think it would be, I don't know if this is still an open process for the engineer. But if they could answer the questions that we have, I think that would go a long way to making everybody more comfortable with this site. So.
But we have done I agree with you, Alan. It's just really frustrating. That's why I can't be on the board anymore.
Yeah.
Because everybody here knows that we've done that. I've answered it in text, emails, everything. This has been done. This engineer has been hired. They are
Who's the
checking.
engineer?
It's,
Who's the engineer? We don't know.
Greg Johnson.
All right,
Yeah.
so let's put it out to bid and get some engineers in here that have built public safety buildings. We need to treat this like it's important, sorry.
What's wrong with Greg? I mean, he
I
does
don't
all
know.
the engineering for the
I-
town, right?
I'm not.
Let
And
him.
no, what I was saying was that we are doing our due diligence. We are checking through the list. Jesse's doing all of this. And it's made everybody, or certain people are making it sound like we're not doing that. But it's being done. And this is very publicly, I wanna state, this is being done. This list that we are having, Jesse is handing that over to the town engineer and having him look through it. So it's not like Jesse is not doing his job, like he's falling short on anything. He is 100% doing what the committee has asked him to do, or what the committee has for guidelines.
But I guess that's the question I'm really asking, because I don't know what Greg was asked to do.
So-
Is he working from our requirements?
So right now, we just had a very initial conversation of that we may need him to do this. And his first step was going to be providing what he would recommend that the town investigate for the building. But we would certainly, I mean, this board will have things it wants to investigate. We have no problem with the committee having
Yeah.
input with the engineer. I mean, it says in the bylaws that you consult with the engineer. So there's no issues there. I would think it would be on, an upcoming committee agenda
Right,
to
yeah.
go over,
Yeah.
concerns that you have. Like you said the other day, the committee hasn't seen the building. I think the committee should walk through the building, and come up with any, questions or concerns they have for the engineer.
If I remember right, I think Greg Johnson did all the site design and everything when the building was permitted and built. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure I was at that meeting. And, so he's familiar with a lot of that already too.
So could you send us examples of the last public safety buildings he's created? I mean, we've made reference to certain companies that have built several a year. I think we should, an RFP, you create what you want, you send it out to firms, they give you a price, and you hire a firm based on their credentials. You see who's built public safety buildings, who knows what's actually costs are today, what needs to be done, not somebody that has probably, he's probably cheaper and available, but I can't say that I know of any public safety buildings he's ever done.
Are they that different from another building if you know what the specs are?
Well,
I mean, if you can
it's only fair to
design
us
the
to
school
hire
or-
somebody that has done that sort of thing, but again, I mean, Jamie maybe sent an email back that they hired an engineer, but that's the first I've heard about it. I don't know who it was. I didn't know, and maybe the committee knew who it was, or maybe the communications, but.
I didn't even know who it was at the time, but I knew that one had been done, cause it was said in an email to me, once again, and this is, I feel like the 5th time I've had to say it.
Yeah.
There has been one, it's already in the process,
Right.
and it keeps saying that we haven't, and that's not true.
Oh, no.
This has been going on for weeks and weeks, so,
Sure, to be fair though, I mean, I didn't say you haven't doing it, I said that we don't know what the program is the engineer is looking at.
Yeah.
And it seems that because there are enough issues, we should be careful about that program to make sure that in fact we're gonna answered,
Yeah.
reflects what the
Mhm.
building is and what our needs are. So
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, Alan, yes.
It's just a
right,
matter
yep.
that, and I understand why it's been quiet, but
Yep.
we haven't seen very much of the process. And again, I understand that, and I'm not questioning that. But maybe at this point, the committee should be involved with helping that engineer spec out the program so that we get answers to the questions that we have.
Or perhaps
Yeah.
choosing an engineer firm or putting it out to bid.
Maybe,
But, no, I mean, okay, so just as long as we know that I don't endorse the plan, I think we move too far ahead. It's an impulse thing and that the lack of communication, not the lack of effort. Jamie, I think the world of you, Jamie. I think you found a great, quick solution, but I think we're ahead of ourselves. That's what I'm thinking, that we are, we're running to the finish line when we're don't even know what our goal is or what the trophy is when we get there, so.
I go by what I'm told.
Yep.
Our town attorney gives us advice. He says this is a process you follow. I follow the process because that's the way that I listen to the town's attorney. Same way the town's engineer. That's who we hire. That's what we do. These are the processes that we follow, and that's what I do, and I'm sticking to that. That's just,
No,
I'm
I'm
not-
not sticking your guns, and I feel equally the same, Jamie,
Yeah.
and I hope we can move past this, but I think we can do better. That's the only thing I can say. We can do better, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, so.
There's a 7-month period from now until when the suggested closing is.
It's a long time to hire an outfit. They'll come in and equally assess what we need.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna keep it simple, but just like Selectman suggested with the deer hunt, we need multiple options, real numbers, real facts, not just one building as an option. And if the option the engineers come up with is just stay where we're at, then that's where we're at, but we need to, nothing's gonna get voted at a town meeting if we don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm ready.
I'm completely comfortable with, as long as, this all has to come back to us. The engineer's gonna give us a number, and if we're not happy with the number, then we say
We start over.
bail.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, we can stay right where we're at for 5 years or so or more, so we got to, not in a hurry.
I think it's too good an opportunity not to look into.
I think, I've heard nothing but positive feedback from the ambulance service. I know Andy's here, but, the ambulance service needs some assistance at this time, and I think that, if anything, that this would be a huge thing for the ambulance service.
There's living quarters, yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Anything you wanna chime in, Andy, or you're just taking it all in?
Mostly that.
Yeah, okay.
But I haven't seen the property.
Yep.
I kind of know where it is. And it's certainly true that, especially with our effort to have 2 providers on duty, we struggle to have a good place for that second provider to be. For primary person is when the sprinkler system is working, is at our office right above the bay in Southwest Harbor. We're putting up second providers at Kristen's cottages and people are sleeping at the firehouse in Southwest. Having a place here for people to sleep and be would be a plus.
And sorry, I should have summarized too more of the property for people that have had zero involvement with this. It has a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house on there, which this has been, a year-ish or so. The ambulance service, we've slowly known that they're gonna need some assistance. They need some housing. A lot of changes or possible changes are coming that way. And so this seemed to fit the bill, why it caught the eye, as to having a house there, having it, the septic there, and a well, and the large building was a bonus on there. and Dern's, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan, please. But the Public Safety Building Committee just either would add on to the structure for the ambulance or put them into a bay. It's kind of handle an immediate need for the ambulance service is more, I think, the ambulance side of it, aside from the fire department side. Yes.
I would just like to recall a similar story, I'll be short. I came from an area that built a lot of new schools, and I'm a science teacher, middle and high science teacher, I was. And we knew exactly what a science lab should have to be state-of-the-art quality, and they never asked us, and they went ahead and built the schools time and again because they went by their standard school footprint. And I really relate to what you're saying over there because we were the experts as science teachers, we knew what we needed, and it wasn't that much more expensive, but no one ever asked us. They went ahead and built it as their people said they would build it.
Mm.
So just that thought.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments, or anything before we select board?
Let's, is it pressing to go into this sales agreement right now? Just because,
There is a time crunch.
Yeah.
Yes, so we need to make up our minds. Especially if it's a
It-
town
it also-
meeting, especially, I mean, if there's certain time requirements to.
Yeah. This has been going on for weeks. It's not like it's.
Yeah, it's not a new.
It's not gonna change.
Yep.
So it's either yes, you think it's a good idea to look into it and and sign the purchase and sale and contingent on engineers giving us a clean bill, or no, we're not interested. I think that's the question at hand right now.
I'll make a motion, we can vote. Right, we're done.
is there, so this is the criteria that Greg's gonna go by?
Yeah, he'll go by whatever
Justin gives
the
him
committee and
for the
board.
I just wanna make sure that if we get into this, that we do our research, and if we don't want it, then we don't have to
Exactly.
get into it. We
Right.
just go about our business differently.
Yep.
But,
And we'll make sure, I would make sure that Greg
Yeah.
has a copy of this to see exactly what the safety committee has done.
yeah, the safety committee needs to work hand in hand with the
Exactly.
engineer,
No,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I said, they have put, I know as much as anybody, that they have put a pile of time and effort into this, and, this needs to be in front of them, in front of the engineer. And then once he gives the report back, after we view it, I feel like that they should view it and see what they think, they might have missed or
Mhm.
such before we do anything.
Yeah, so do you think there's an opportunity for the committee to work with him prior? I don't know how far the process is now, just to
Yeah.
give it,
Yeah.
because there are
Sure.
certainly issues that we have that
Yeah.
aren't
Yeah.
even necessarily on this document.
Yeah.
That would go a long way to satisfying us,
Yeah.
to know that
No.
he's considering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea, Alan. Yeah, if he goes in and looks himself, gets any big things that he can see, and then come back to the safety committee
And we
and,
can get a list.
yes, yep, and then get a list, and then he goes and digs a little deeper. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So you guys
Yes.
know the requirements of, I mean, obviously you do, you know the requirements that you need for the public safety building,
I
right?
don't have a clue, that's why I don't know how anybody in this board or anyone else would know. I
Right,
mean,
someone needs to know.
At
We're not saying we know.
Sellersville Fire Station last year, when they remodeled it, was almost $800,000, an existing station that they remodeled to make it habitable for trucks, equipment. I think before you can move forward, I really think you need to know what a new building's gonna cost before we make assumptions that this is a better alternative. The board did a lot of time, and Jamie included, but they barely scratched the surface. I mean, we're still years away from deciding what we need and what we can afford, and by the time we circle back around, there may be grants or money available the committee here, their bylaws did not include finding money sources. That was up to the selectmen. If you wanna take money that we set aside for engineering or putting a bid out for an engineer, Greg may be comparable, but I would think you would look at any engineer that's available for this program that has just done Orleans, or doing Hancock's, or doing Mariahville's, not someone that is over Braille's mansions every day of the week. I'm not saying Greg's not comparable, but why wouldn't the committee have had options to choose, just like the school did, choose an engineer that they wanna work with and feel comfortable with? Instead, I mean, I'm just learning tonight with the engineering. It's kind of crazy, it's a little disappointing, but I think we're just scratching the surfaces and you guys are getting ahead of yourself. That's the way I feel about it.
Okay, Tammy.
So, is this going out to a vote for the town purchases this property?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the towns will be able to vote, the townspeople will be
Oh,
able to
yeah,
vote?
yeah, of course,
Yeah.
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 It'll be a long while before that, because of we have to go through this engineer process and then, get our feedback, and then if we were satisfied with it, us as a group, safety committee was, then it would go as a vote to the town after that, so, yeah.
Exclusive of the fire chief and people that are on the fire department. And I do say the committee had a great responsibility. I removed myself from that committee anticipating this process was gonna meet the goals where it needs. We've fallen short, the committee's fallen short, my assumptions have fallen short, my expectations have fallen short. So you guys go ahead and vote what you want, but I really, it's sending a clear message that you're trying to go to margins and buy a fire station instead of building a brand new, what we need, purposely built, lifetime building. So that's all we're asking for. I'm not asking for a Lester building that the Santos building built for a beautiful boat shop. It's probably a great example of a boat shop. It's immaculate, they keep it great business there, but it was not intended for a fire station. So, but that's the last word I have to say.
I just don't think that we're cutting, I would think that the fire department would be very happy from the station that they currently have. This is a huge upgrade, and,
It's not a lot of appreciation.
no,
Wednesday nights, come on over every other Wednesday night, see what we go through.
yeah, not white, and that's why we've been fighting and saving up money to get here, and we've made sure every year, I was the first one to say,
I know.
we need to set money aside for this, so we have
I
been.
agree with that.
And then soon as we get to a chance of anything, then it's not good enough. And it's, the next step you're talking is $5 million. That's a lot. I don't feel like the town can afford that.
I don't know if it's $5 million, I don't know if it's $2 million. Nobody has done the work.
Well, you had the
You have
number,
a guess.
you had and that's what our engineer had the same number that you used for the rough square footprint, and that's $4.8 million.
Because you guys value my number, but we need real numbers. We can't assume if we put another $1.5 million in this building, is 50% savings, is it 20%, is it 10%? At what point do we decide it's enough savings to go to a brand new building that adjoins the town facility to putting $1 million into a place, and then probably putting another 1.2 to 2.7, who knows? I mean, I don't know. You can't tell me you're gonna do that for $100,000. You can't tell me you're gonna do it for $700,000. You're gonna be $2 million into a building, when we could, $2 million sitting on our own property right here, looks a lot nicer than $2 million of remodeling an existing building.
And when we get that number, Keith, that's what we have this built in. When we get this number,
Yeah.
if we get a $2 million number, and it comes in front of us, and all we have to do is say, okay, that's too much.
Yeah.
It's that easy.
I do trust you will do that, but I think we're ahead of ourselves. I know Mackenzie Sturgill, I mean, she would be the first one to support me, I know she would, that say that, well, then why are we putting this much in it? But I don't think we're at the point to buy a building yet, or even sign purchase and sale yet. I think that's my issue.
I don't know. I just feel like that you're not, it seems to, maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it sure seems like that, it's not appreciated that how much we've been fighting for the fire department and the ambulance service, and trying to save up and get what we could done as quickly as we could. And then it just doesn't, it seems like it's never enough. So,
We'll follow the process through as you guys suggested right now, and we'll see where it comes. And I will be the first one to eat crow if we find this is the best solution. I will, I honestly will. And I will gladly continue on as the chief and take the new building and have pride in it. But I do appreciate you guys, I think it matters.
Is it?
yeah, I guess so, whatever you want.
I'll make a motion to have the town manager, on behalf of the select board, negotiate and sign a purchase and sale agreement with Michael A. Wagner and Patricia L. Wagner for the town of Tremont to purchase their real estate situated at 31 and 37 Harbor Drive in Tremont, tax map 14, lots 2021, upon commercially reasonable terms, subject to town meeting approval, and at the purchase price not to exceed $972,000 and a closing date no later than January 6, 2026.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have the town manager, on behalf of the select board, negotiate and sign a purchase and sale agreement with Michael A. Wagner and Patricia L. Wagner for the town of Tremont to purchase their real estate situated at 31 and 37 Harbor Drive in Tremont, Tremont Town Tax Map 14, lots 20 and 21, upon commercially reasonable terms, subject to town meeting approval, and at a purchase price not to exceed $972,000 and a closing date no later than January 6, 2026. Is there any discussion?
Is there supposed to be something in here that's subject to the engineers?
It would be in the purchase and sale.
I just wanna make sure that
Yeah.
we can back out of
Yeah.
this, cause
Yeah.
I don't wanna get stuck in this, cause I don't think we have enough information.
Yeah.
And this is James, obviously, the town's attorney has
Yeah.
gone through this.
Yeah.
He understands that, just on the record, he understands what we want, and
Yes.
he knows that we wanna have an engineer look at it and give us a cost of revamping it.
Mhm.
And then, once we give our okay on that, then, but if it comes back, it's gonna be $4 million to renovate it, then we can bow out.
Correct.
Okay, just making it clear on the record.
Yep.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Alright, next is Thurston's liquor license application. Nothing new, nothing changed, nothing.
Nope.
I don't think we've ever had any issues with them at all. That's the only thing I ever
Nope.
look at when we get there.
No issue.
It is 9 Thurston Road for state on-premise restaurant liquor license.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the application of Thurston's Lobster Pound located at 9 Thurston Road for a state on-premises restaurant liquor license. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? We get like an intermission break after that or something? I like,
Yeah.
I know. Camera's rolling, so I'll be quiet. Yeah.
Thought you were talking about the liquor license.
Yeah, that's that's a good one, Kevin. That's a good one here. Yeah. All right, Bernard Wharf cameras.
So as part of the ongoing work, relocating the harbor master office, into the new facility, as it was discussed at a meeting way back, camera system has to be moved over to the new building, for monitoring. Most of the cameras themselves will remain where they are, but they have to be wired to the building. And there is, a change of location, to at least one of them. The price to have that done exceeds my spending authority, so that's why it's on your agenda. It should come in below that, but that's the amount their standard, that they are required to estimate as far as hours go. So the amount is 880878.
Gotta be done.
Yeah.
Yes. I make a motion to approve the proposal from Connectivity Works, excuse me, in the amount of $8,808.78 for the work on the Bernard Wharf camera system.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposal for Connectivity Works in the amount of $8,808.78 for the work on the Bernard Wharf camera system. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, next we have regional collaboration. This is Jesse's.
So, at last week's League of Towns meeting, Noel Musson provided a summary of the April elected officials workshop and next steps towards the October workshop. He'll probably be on an upcoming agenda, to go over some things from the workshops with you, this summer, and what the process is, what next steps will be. There's going to be ongoing discussion of what role the League of Towns can play in assisting with the regional issues discussed at the workshops. One of the topics that came up at the meeting last week was that each town could have regional collaboration as a standing agenda item on its select board or council agendas. So I can, provide you with updates on what the region is doing from League of Towns meetings or from workshops, if not all of you can attend the workshops. Everybody at the League of Towns thought it was a pretty good idea. I was thinking I'd just add it on each of your agendas for the first meeting of the month, because that would follow the League of Towns meeting at the end of the previous month. So it would essentially be like your financial reports happen once a month. There'd be an agenda item, probably at the bottom, before manager's report, for regional collaboration update.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
I make a motion to request the town manager add regional collaboration as a standing agenda item on the first agenda of each month.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to request the town manager to add regional collaboration as a standing agenda item on the first agenda of each month. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? All right, town manager's report.
So in the last 2 weeks, I did some public works interview prep. Worked on EMS planning committee follow-up for our next meeting, which is next week. Attended the League of Towns meeting, met with a sign company regarding a potential project in Seal Cove. Worked on meeting prep, harbor committee financials, and was in contact with the harbor master and police regarding the incident yesterday at the Bernard Wharf. Office staff, the clerk was busy with BMV reports, election follow-up, 30-day notice processing, annual town meeting minutes, and processing the boat registration to transfer the boat that you sold as abandoned. Public Works was busy with road sweeping, work at the Seal Cove picnic area, servicing equipment, mowing and trimming. They installed a Knox box on the town office, which has the key in it for the fire department. Issues after hours. Fixed the tailgate on truck 3, changed blades on the mower, put up flags, cut back branches along the fence at Hillrest. Washed truck 4, changed the tires on truck 4. We sent them over, the town of Southwest Harbor graciously agreed to let us borrow their hot box asphalt trailer for paving,
Nice.
at no charge. So last week, as you may know, the town of Southwest Harbor was making repairs to their wharf in Manset. So I did authorize Public Works to go over for a couple hours and assist them with those repairs their town crew was working
that's
on.
good.
Just in exchange for letting us use the asphalt trailer.
Can they do some of the state roads around town too and get reimbursed, or, yeah? Just asking for a friend, that's all, yeah.
They had the pressure washers serviced, and the harbor master was finishing up work on harbor master office, installed flooring, had some conversations about moorings in the harbor, float repairs. assisted Public Works with trimming some cemeteries and responded to yesterday's, incident at the wharf and assisted law enforcement with the investigation. Over the next few weeks, I will be, continuing working on Public Works hiring and, EMS planning committee.
Okay, thank you, Jesse. Suggestions for the next meeting? Date of the next meeting?
I'll make a motion to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, June 16th at 5 p.m. at the town office.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to confirm the date of the next meeting for Monday, June 16th, 2025, 5 p.m. at the town office. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Who's buying beer?
I heard someone just got a liquor license.
Yeah.